What's happening with all the AI? How do you apply it in business? Well, these are the things I really want to talk about today. My name is Alexei. This is Better Business Podcast, and today is about AI. Well, look, I should have been covering this topic probably a while back, but when I started my podcast, really the focus was a little bit different. But now it's something that we can't really ignore anymore. So let's jump right into it. Well, first of all, there's many different tools out there. People use them right, left, and center. If you're not using them, you're really being left behind. So the common question I get asked, first of all, is, what's the best tool out there? And I guess it really depends what you want to use it for. But if we look at the overall market share, ChatGPT, according to StatCounter, is leading with about 80% of the market share, followed by Perplexity. Interestingly enough, many of you may not have heard that name, that particular brand name. And after that, you've got tools like Microsoft Copilot. It has got a fairly small market share, and Google Gemini. You may argue that, but Google Gemini is actually getting a bigger market share because they've now built the whole thing into their search engine. No doubt you would have seen that suggestion jumping out, telling you exactly what's going on. The other one is that is worth noting is a tool called Claude. Claude is a huge project. We use it a lot. It is a little bit different, but if you're into lots of data and you want to basically be able to crunch a lot of data, I definitely recommend you looking at it. Now, there's another tool called First Page Sage which basically says that ChatGPT has got about 60% of the market. I mean, long story short, it is the market leader, whether you like it or not. And I think it's important to recognize that the biggest country in terms of using of these AI tools is USA. So they are in front of everybody else. Now, there are tools like DeepSeek, and there's a lot of Chinese projects and stuff, but unfortunately, there are no stats for it. I looked, I couldn't really find much. I think they're great tools. They've got their own pros and cons, but at the end of the day, I think it's about the practicality of using these. What I particularly like about ChatGPT is that they've got a good app which is easy to install on the phone, and at a subscription which is just over $20, it allows you to pretty much have an assistant in your pocket which works with voice and it works with text. The voice is unbelievable, and I want to make sure you understand that you're using a paid version, because the free version is somewhat limited. Don't get me wrong, it's great, but the paid version really goes far beyond everything else. Now, the thing with AI tools is that you really need to understand what it is specifically that you're asking. So a good way to really engage an AI tool would be to give it very specific instructions as to the outcome that you want to get. And if you can allude to a framework that you want to use as well, it can actually use that as well. So for example, if I am running an email campaign and I want to make sure I get the best out of it, I want to implement, let's say, direct response copy style from Dan Kennedy using his principles. And there is a specific format. If you're not familiar with it, there's a great book on the whole thing. And this way, it'll write me specifically an email in that format. And then you got to tell it specifically who this email is to, and you got to tell it specifically what it is that you want to offer as well. Now, don't stop right there, because the most important thing that people forget about is they forget to get feedback. And if you think, hey, this is great, this is better than what I would have written, well, if you would have, if you wrote something that was, worse than that, great, but it's your own copy. If you really want to use ChatGPT or a tool like that to make it awesome, really good, really powerful, make sure you ask it for feedback. Can you please critique it for me? Give me a revised version. Ask me questions how to improve it. And it'll come back to you with very specific instructions. And at the end of it, you will really have a very beautiful copy which will work absolutely the best. But you have to understand the key principles of what you're doing, because the whole thing itself will just give you a very mediocre outcome. So marketing in that particular instance is, the actual market. Who are you targeting? Who's the audience? Message. What message are you pushing for? And then media. Which channel are you going to be using it across? Is this going to be a web page? Is this going to be an email? Is this going to be a social media post? Be specific. And if you really want to take it to another level, you can keep critiquing it for as much as you want, or to take it through a different framework, or ask it to research, based on the best principles, and so on and so on and so on. So you need to know what you're doing in the long run. Essentially, you become the manager, and ChatGPT becomes your, team to execute on that particular team. Hopefully, that gives you enough information. So, from that perspective, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever it is that you use, they're all great tools, trust me, and they invest a lot of dollars in it. I think you need to recognize that there is a AI revolution that's currently happening. I think in about maybe 12 to maybe 18 months, there's going to be a lot of video content which is generated by AI, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. At the moment, I think a lot of the creative on social media, particularly, is already being done by ChatGPT, and you can sort of tell sometimes it's got a particular format. But if you got a designer who uses, something like Photoshop, who uses AI at the same time, they're going to come up with absolutely amazing designs that are specifically styled to the channels, to the audiences, everything that I've just mentioned before. So I think it's important to understand that there's a huge revolution, and if you're not using it, if you don't understand what's happening, I think you're going to be left behind. As a business owner, we have to always adapt, and whatever business you're in, I think it's important to recognize the whole automation and the whole tools that are available. And look, AI is a very broad term these days. You can look into AI as anything that pretty much creates automation, but essentially it's something that creates decision making and is able to replace you in the areas where you lack experience. So, I mean, I love tools like Grammarly, for example, allows you to write better copy. It's still your copy, but it at least looks into the whole grammatical side of things. And if you take it further, it helps you define specific styles. There are tools like Hemingway, very basic tool. If you haven't checked it out, check out the Hemingway app. It really helps you deconstruct your sentence structure and write it specifically to the audience that you're speaking with. Because a lot of the time, we either use very basic English or we use English that's too complicated and people just don't grasp it. Now, in relation to the whole AI, I think what's most important to the actual market shift right now is to recognize this thing called the AEO. Now, this is what SEO used to be about. AEO is the answer that you get from Gemini in Google, which pretty much gives you reference to some businesses. So for example, if you're going to look for, best deck builder in Brisbane, it's going to give you some results based on certain data. And that is the trend right now. So if you're into SEO or digital marketing, this is something you must consider because it's not something that a lot of people understand and do. Google at the moment can easily present your business in very competitive scenarios based on AEO being applied to your website. So it's basically answer engine optimization, in case you're wondering. And where this also kicks in is that a lot of people have started using ChatGPT specifically for searching. They basically look into, searching the actual Google side of things. They use ChatGPT instead of Google. And this way, the actual answer goes in ChatGPT scenario, but still links to the website. So you can actually optimize for that as well. And we're seeing that it's about 20 to 40% of all the traffic that comes through it. Most importantly, it's the traffic that has got high intent. Now, what I'm talking by that is people have already researched something. They're looking for something specific. They're ready to buy. They have the high intent of taking action. And this is where these keywords come in. So it's a gold mine, guys. Please check it out. So look, there's many different other projects. There's many different tools. Don't get overwhelmed because I do think a lot of business owners start playing with a lot of these thinking, hey, this is all good and great. But then they waste a lot of time trying to implement it all themselves. There's a lot of AI components in a lot of tools as well. Hey, your, Microsoft Suite comes up with a system. Your, Google Ads has got some sort of a component of AI and machine learning. Guys, make sure you understand exactly what you're dealing with. You're not going to become an expert overnight. It's about understanding the actual recipe of what it is that you're trying to get. Think of this as, explaining to a worker exactly what you want to get done, where the worker knows the how, but you got to ask specifically, what it is that you want. And if you tell them why and allude to structures that are to be used or potential references to people who have created those, I think this becomes powerful. So in one of the episodes of my podcast, I spoke about the winning framework. It's something that we developed a while back. Highly recommend you look at that again because you can actually apply that within all the AI stuff. Anyway, this is Better Business Podcast. I hope you learned something new today. If you have any questions or comments, please comment below. And yeah, love to hear from you guys. Otherwise, I'll chat to you soon.